if we scanned the hand and I said, make a fist for me, and there were fingers that weren't closing fully, you'd pick the ones that just go specifically to that finger. The finger is closing fully, fine, okay? If it's closing fully and there's pain associated with it, that's also a reason to maybe test further in terms of muscle length. That's just another point, okay? So, let's say there's some fingers not closing fully on your left hand, okay? So, again, we started neutral. Forearm in neutral, wrist in neutral, okay? And try to close, let's take the second one, try to close it fully. And let's say it doesn't go all the way. We start with our process, there would be overpressure. And then passively there would be end feel, okay, with the wrist pre-positioned in extension so as to not fully stretch the finger extensors, okay? Now we want to start taking up slack in those finger extensors. So we flex the IPs and the MCP, okay, with wrist in neutral and forearm in neutral, step one, okay? Now, relax the finger, open it back up, and let's swing the wrist into a little bit of flexion to begin this process of taking up slack in the muscle. And now, carefully, we flex the IPs and the MCPs again. And we evaluate for whether or not now we feel an increased degree of elasticity in the end feel. And is it harder to passively flex the IPs and the MCPs? Okay. Bring everything back to neutral again, back to the beginning position. Okay. Now let's pronate and flex, and then take the IPs and the MCPs and flex again. That further took up slack in the finger extensors, okay, because we added the pronatory component, okay, with the wrist fully flexed. Now let's relax everything again. I'm not going to come out of pronation, okay? Now let's fully extend the elbow, maintain forearm pronation, add wrist flexion. Now we're really starting to stretch, okay, these extensors, okay? The wrist extensors are fully stretched, and now we take the IPs again, and generally kind of flex the IPs first and end with flexing at the MCP. Okay? So repeat, that's relatively important. Flex the IPs first and end with flexing the MCP. Okay? And again, you're feeling for whether or not the patient really has an elastic infield. Okay? If you're now not able to fully flex the finger, now that the muscle is fully elongated, does the patient feel an increased degree of discomfort, increased pulling sensation, and anatomically is a correct area for these finger extensor muscles? Okay. And we do the same thing for the finger flexors. Okay. We would ask the patient, open up your fingers, and it's clear that it either doesn't open fully, the finger doesn't extend fully, or when the finger does extend, it's painful. It's a good reason to check the muscles. Okay. So, with the wrist pre-positioned and a little bit of flexion, okay, we can do our overpressure and our end field test. Okay, and that's, again, how to look at the joint. We covered that last week. Okay. Now, let's begin the process of taking up slack in the muscle. Let's passively extend the wrist. Forearm still in neutral. Okay. Elbow still flexed. Extend the IPs. Extend the MCP. Feeling for an elastic end feel. Okay. Bring the wrist back to neutral, add supination, wrist extension. Okay. Extend the IP. That's weird. Okay, whatever's going on there. Go through the MCP. Last step in the process, okay? Everybody okay with that? Wrist back to neutral. Now please straighten your elbow for me. Okay. Maintain forearm supination. Extend the wrist. Okay. Extend the IPs and end through extending the MCP. Okay. So again, a little bit different than what's written in your book, but it still follows that sequence. And again, there's more than one road to Rome. You know, you can get at that fully lengthened position of the muscle and examine for this overly elastic end field, one side as compared to the other, and whether or not you get pain and pulling in the anatomically correct distribution. You know, probably more than one way, but that's probably a little more of a refined way to do it.